Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the U.E.'s Ranger, watching the stars move past the main screen. The ship had been traveling for 3 months through space that no human had ever seen before. Jake felt proud of his crew of 62 people. They were the first humans to go beyond the Veil Nebula, and they were doing well. Lisa Hayes worked at her station, checking their path through space. She was the best navigator Earth had, and Jake trusted her completely. Captain, we are getting close to the Kepler 442 system, she said without looking up from her screens. We should arrive in 6 hours. Jake nodded and walked over to where Roy Baker was checking the engine readings. Roy was a big man with rough hands who knew everything about the ship's quantum drive. How are we doing, Roy? Jake asked. The engines are running perfect, Captain, Roy said with a smile. This new quantum drive is amazing. We are going faster than any human ship has ever gone before. Dr. Kate Phillips sat at another station, looking at star charts and alien language files. She was young but very smart. Earth had sent her because she was the best at understanding alien languages. Jake hoped they would not need her skills, but it was good to have her just in case. The bridge was quiet except for the soft sounds of the computers. Jake looked out at the strange stars and felt excited. Earth's government had sent them here because their long-range sensors had found something interesting in this area. The readings showed huge amounts of energy and what might be very old technology. If they found it, it could help humanity advance by hundreds of years. Captain, I am picking up something strange, called Ben Parker from his communication station. Ben was thin and always looked worried, but he was very good at his job. There is some kind of beacon out there. Jake walked over to Ben's station. What kind of beacon? I am not sure, sir. It is very old, but it is still working. It is sending out a signal in many different languages. Dr. Phillips looked up from her work. Can you put the signal through to my station? I want to try to understand what it is saying. Ben pressed some buttons, and strange sounds came from Kate's speakers. She listened carefully and started typing on her computer. Her face became serious as she worked. Captain, Kate said after several minutes, this is not good news. This beacon is a warning. It says this area of space is forbidden. No one is allowed to come here. Jake felt his stomach drop. Forbidden by who? Kate kept reading from her screen. Something called the Galactic Hegemony. They represent 12 different alien races. The message says this area has dangerous artifacts and that anyone who enters will be destroyed immediately. The bridge became very quiet. Everyone stopped working and looked at Jake. He had to make a decision that could affect all of them. What else does it say? Jake asked. Kate continued reading. The message is signed by the High Council of the Hegemony. They have controlled this part of space for over 10,000 years. The beacon warns that any species that enters will face total annihilation. Roy Baker walked over from his station. Captain, maybe we should think about this. If these aliens have been here for 10,000 years, they probably have very powerful weapons. Jake understood Roy's worry, but he also remembered why they were here. Earth needed this technology. Humanity was still young compared to other species in the galaxy. They needed every advantage they could get. Ben, are you getting any other signals? Jake asked. Ben listened to his equipment for a moment. Yes, sir. I am picking up several ships heading our way. They are still far away, but they are coming fast. Can you understand what they are saying? Kate worked on her computer again. I am getting some of it, Captain. They are demanding that we turn around and leave immediately. They seem very surprised that a primitive species like humans has made it this far. Jake felt angry when he heard the word primitive. Humans might be newer to space travel than other species, but they were not primitive. They had worked hard. to build their ships and technology. They are also saying something about giving us one chance, Kate continued. If we leave now, they will let us go. If we stay, they will destroy us. The alien ships were getting closer. Jake could see them on the long-range sensors now. There were 12 of them, and they were much larger than the Ranger. Jake looked around at his crew. Lisa Hayes was watching him carefully. She had been with him for 5 years and knew how he thought. Roy Baker looked worried but ready to follow. Orders. Dr. Phillips was still listening to the alien messages, trying to learn more. Ben Parker was tracking the approaching ships. Captain, said Greg Stone from the weapons station, those alien ships have very powerful weapons. Our shields might not be able to stop them if they attack. Jake knew Greg was right. The Ranger was an exploration ship, not a warship. It had weapons for defense, but it was not built for fighting large alien vessels. But Jake also knew something else. Earth's government had chosen this crew carefully. They had sent their best people on this mission because they knew it would be dangerous. The energy readings from this area were too important to ignore. Jake thought about humanity's history. Humans had always been explorers. They had crossed oceans, climbed mountains, and reached for the stars. They had never backed down from a challenge, even when the odds were against them. Amy Carter, what do your sensors tell us about this system? Jake asked the science officer. Amy was a quiet woman who loved studying new things. She looked at her readings carefully before answering. Captain, the energy readings are even stronger now that we are closer. There is definitely some kind of very advanced technology in this system. It could be exactly what Earth is looking for. Jake made his decision. He walked to the center of the bridge and looked at each member of his crew. Ben, open a channel to those alien ships, Jake said in a strong voice. Channel open, sir. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earthship Ranger. We are peaceful explorers from Earth. We mean no harm to anyone, but we will not be turned away from our mission. Humanity has the right to explore space freely. The response came quickly. The alien voice was deep and sounded very angry. Kate translated as the alien spoke. The alien commander says his name is Zektar. He says we are foolish to ignore their warning. He cannot believe that such a primitive species would dare to challenge the hegemony. Jake felt his anger growing, but he kept his voice calm. Tell Commander Zektar that humanity is not primitive. We may be new to this part of space, but we are not weak. We will continue our mission. Kate translated Jake's words. The alien response was even angrier than before. Zektar says we have made a terrible mistake, Kate said. He says the hegemony has destroyed countless species who challenged them. He is giving us one last chance to leave. Jake looked at the approaching alien ships on the screen. They would be in weapons range soon. He thought about Earth so far away. He thought about all the humans who were counting on this mission to succeed. Ben, close the channel, Jake said. Then he turned to Lisa Hayes. Set course for the inner system. Full speed. Yes, sir, Lisa said without hesitation. Roy, give me everything the engines have got. You got it, Captain. Jake sat down in his captain's chair and watched the alien ships grow larger on the screen. He had just made a decision that would change everything. Humanity had been warned to stay out, but they were going in anyway. All hands, this is the captain, Jake said over the ship's communication system. We are about to make first contact with an alien species that does not want us here. But we have a job to do. Earth is counting on us. I know each one of you will. Do your duty. The U.S. Ranger flew deeper into the forbidden system while 12 alien warships moved to intercept them. Captain Jake Morrison had made his choice. Humanity would not back down. 3 days had passed since Captain Jake Morrison decided to ignore the alien warning. The U's Ranger flew deeper into the Forbidden System, while 12 alien ships followed them. The alien commander Zektar had been sending messages every few hours demanding that the humans surrender. Jake stood on the bridge watching the alien fleet on his screens. The ships were massive, each one twice the size of the Ranger. They looked like giant metal fish with sharp edges and glowing weapons. Jake had never seen anything like them before. "Captain, the alien commander is calling again," Ben Parker said from his communication station. Ben looked tired from 3 days of listening to alien threats. "Put him through," Jake said. He was getting tired of these conversations, but he wanted to learn as much as possible about these aliens. The main screen flickered and showed the face of Commander Zektar. He looked like a lizard with golden scales and bright yellow eyes. His mouth was full of sharp teeth, and when he spoke, his voice sounded like rocks grinding together. Dr. Kate Phillips translated as Zektar spoke. "He says he cannot understand why we continue this foolish journey. He wants to know why humans are so stubborn." Jake stepped forward so Zektar could see him clearly. "Tell Commander Zektar that humans explore space because it is our nature. We do not accept being told where we cannot go." Kate translated, and Zektar's yellow eyes grew brighter with anger. He spoke again, his voice getting louder. "He says, the hegemony has kept order in this sector for thousands of years," Kate said. "They protect the galaxy from dangerous weapons that could destroy entire star systems. He thinks we are too primitive to understand the danger." Jake felt his anger rising, but he kept his voice calm. "Ask him who gave the hegemony the right to decide what other species can do. Ask him why they get to keep all the advanced technology for themselves." Zektar's response was immediate and harsh. Kate looked worried as she translated. "He says the hegemony earned their power through strength. Weak species like humans should be grateful that stronger ones maintain order. He says we have no right to question their authority." Greg Stone spoke up from the weapons station. "Captain, their ships are moving into attack formation. I think they are done talking." Jake looked at his tactical display. The alien ships were spreading out to surround the Ranger. It was a classic military maneuver designed to prevent escape. "Commander Zektar," Jake said, looking directly at the alien on the screen, "humanity has never bowed to bullies, and we will not start now. If you want to stop us, you will have to try." Zektar showed his teeth in what might have been a smile. He spoke one last time before cutting the communication. "He says we have sealed our fate," Kate translated. "He is going to disable our ship and take us prisoner. He wants to study us to learn how such a primitive species built ships that could travel this far." The screen went dark. An alarm started ringing all over the bridge. "They are powering up weapons," Greg Stone reported. "All ships are targeting us." Jake sat in his captain's chair and looked around at his crew. Lisa Hayes was ready at navigation. Roy Baker had his hands on the engine controls. Amy Carter was scanning the alien ships to learn about their technology. Everyone was scared, but they were all ready to do their jobs. "Battle stations," Jake announced over the ship's communication system. "This is not a drill. All crew to battle positions." The first alien attack came like lightning. Bright blue energy beams shot across space and hit the Ranger's shields. The ship shook, and sparks flew from several control panels. "Shields down to 80%, Greg reported. "Their weapons are very powerful, but our shields are holding." Jake was surprised. Earth's engineers had designed the Ranger's shields using new technology, but he had not expected them to work so well against advanced alien weapons. "Lisa, evasive maneuvers. Do not let them get a steady target on us." "Yes, sir," Lisa said. Her hands moved quickly over her controls, and the Ranger started moving in unpredictable patterns. The alien ships tried to follow, But they were not used to fighting an enemy that moved like the Ranger. Their ships were built for fighting other aliens who used traditional tactics. Humans fought differently. Greg, target the lead ship and fire quantum torpedoes. Torpedoes away, Captain. 2 bright streaks of light shot from the Ranger toward Zektar's ship. The aliens tried to shoot down the torpedoes, but the human weapons were too fast and smart. They hit the alien ship's shields and exploded with tremendous force. The alien ship shook and spun sideways. Smoke poured from several holes in its hull. Direct hit, Amy Carter reported, excitement in her voice. Their shields are down, and they have damage to their engines. Jake could not believe it. The Ranger had actually hurt one of the massive alien ships. But there were still 11 more, and they were all firing now. The space around the Ranger filled with energy beams and explosions. Lisa flew the ship like it was a fighter instead of an exploration vessel. She dove under one alien ship, rolled around another, and used the third ship's weapons to accidentally hit a fourth. Roy, I need more power to the shields, Jake called out. I am giving you everything I have, Captain, Roy shouted back over. The noise of the battle. Pete Young, the chief gunner, was firing weapons as fast as he could. The Ranger's guns were smaller than the alien weapons, but they were much more accurate. Human targeting computers could track multiple enemies at once and find weak spots in their shields. Got another one, Pete announced as his shots tore through an alien ship's side. The ship started spinning out of control and crashed into a non-asteroid. Commander Zektar was screaming orders at his remaining ships, but his crews were confused. They had expected to quickly destroy the small human ship. Instead, they were losing the battle. Jake realized something important. The alien ships were powerful, but they fought in old-fashioned ways. Their captains followed rules that had worked for thousands of years against other aliens. But humans did not follow those rules. Amy, what can you tell me about their technology? Jake asked during a brief break in the fighting. It is very advanced, Captain, but it is also very old, Amy reported. Their weapons and shields have not changed in a long time. They are designed to fight enemies who use similar technology. That explained everything. The hegemony had been so successful for so long that they had stopped improving their military technology. They expected all enemies to fight the same way. Lisa, take us through that asteroid field, Jake ordered. Sir, that is very dangerous. If we hit one of those rocks, ... Trust me, Lisa, the aliens will not follow us in there. Lisa guided the Ranger into a field of spinning rocks and debris. The alien ships tried to follow, but their large size made it impossible to navigate safely. 2 of them collided with asteroids and exploded. From inside the asteroid field, the Ranger continued to attack. Pete Young used the floating rocks as cover, popping out to fire at the alien ships and then hiding again. The aliens could not get a clear shot. Captain, I am getting communication from other alien ships, Ben reported. They sound very upset. What are they saying, Kate? Dr. Phillips listened to the alien chatter and looked surprised. They are asking Commander Zektar how a primitive species could be defeating them. Some of them want to retreat and call for help. Zektar's voice came over the communication system, angry and desperate. Kate translated his words. He is ordering his ships to ram us if they cannot shoot us. He says the hegemony cannot allow word of this defeat to spread. That is desperation. Talking, Jake said. Greg, target their command ship. Full spread of torpedoes. All tubes loaded and ready, Captain. Fire. 6 quantum torpedoes shot out from the Ranger at the same time. Zektar tried to dodge, but his damaged ship was too slow. All 6 torpedoes hit his vessel and tore it apart in a massive explosion. The remaining alien ships stopped firing. Without their commander, they did not know what to do. Some tried to retreat, but Pete Young's accurate shooting damaged their engines. Others just floated in space, their crews too shocked to fight. "Ben, open a channel to the alien fleet," Jake ordered. "Channel open, sir. This is Captain Morrison. Your commander attacked us without cause. We defended ourselves. We do not want to destroy your remaining ships, but we will if you continue to threaten us. Leave this system now." The alien ships slowly turned and flew away. Jake watched them go and felt amazed at what had just happened. His small exploration ship had defeated a fleet of advanced alien warships. "Damage report," Jake called out. "Shields are down to 30%, and we have some hull damage," Greg reported. "But all major systems are working. Any casualties?" "3 people hurt, but nothing serious," came the reply from the medical bay. Jake sat back in his captain's chair and looked at his crew. They had just done something incredible. They had faced an enemy that had ruled space for thousands of years and won. But Jake knew this was just the beginning. The defeated aliens would go back to their leaders and report what had happened. Soon, much larger fleets would come looking for the humans who dared to fight the hegemony. "Lisa, set course deeper into the system. We still have a job to do." "Yes, sir. Where are we going?" Jake looked at the star charts showing the energy readings they had come to investigate. "We are going to find out what the hegemony has been hiding out here. After what just happened, I think we deserve to know." 2 weeks had passed since the battle with Commander Ziktar's fleet. The U's Ranger flew deeper into the forbidden system, following the strange energy readings that had brought them here. Captain Jake Morrison knew that more alien ships would come soon, but he needed to find out what the hegemony was hiding. "Captain, you need to see this," Amy Carter called from her science station. Her voice was filled with excitement and fear. Jake walked over to look at Amy's screens. The readings showed massive artificial structures hidden inside a thick cloud of gas and dust. The structures were enormous, bigger than anything humans had ever built. "How big are those things?" Jake asked. "The largest one is over 50 miles long," Amy said. "And there are dozens of them. Captain, these are not natural formations. Someone built them." Tim Clark, the navigation officer, looked up from his station. "Captain, I am detecting some kind of scanning beam coming from those structures. I think they know we are here." Jake felt nervous. If the structures belonged to the hegemony, they might be flying into a trap. But the energy readings were too strong to ignore. Whatever was inside those clouds could change everything for humanity. "Take us in slowly, Lisa," Jake ordered. "Keep the shields up and weapons ready." The Ranger moved carefully into the gas cloud. The screens showed swirling colors of red and gold as they went deeper. The ship's sensors were having trouble seeing through the thick gas. "I am getting strange readings," Amy reported. "The gas is not natural. It has been changed somehow to hide what is inside." As they went deeper, the artificial structures became clearer on their screens. They were not like any buildings Jake had ever seen. The walls were smooth and curved, and they seemed to glow with their own light. Strange symbols covered the surfaces. "Those symbols," Dr. Kate Phillips said, studying the images. "They are not from any language I know. They are much older than anything the hegemony uses." Suddenly, the ship's communication system came alive with signals. But these were not from the hegemony. The signals were coming from the structures themselves. "Kate, can you understand any of it?" Jake asked. Kate worked at her computer, trying to translate the signals. "It is very difficult, Captain. The language is incredibly old. But I think the structures are trying to communicate with us." The Ranger moved closer to the largest structure. As they approached, a section of the wall began to glow brighter. Then it opened like a flower, creating a passage big enough for the ship to enter. "That looks like an invitation," Roy Baker said from his engineering station. But it could also be a trap. Jake studied the opening. Every instinct told him to be careful, but they had come too far to turn back now. Take us. Inside, Lisa. The Ranger flew through the opening into a vast chamber. The walls were covered with the same glowing symbols, but now they were moving and changing like living things. The chamber was so large that the ship's lights could not reach the far walls. Captain, I am detecting some kind of scanning system. Amy reported. It is examining our ship, but it is not trying to damage us. Then the lights in the chamber grew brighter, and the symbols on the walls began to pulse in rhythm. The ship's computers started receiving new information, but it was unlike anything they had seen before. The scanning system is downloading something. Into our computers, Ben Parker said from his communication station. Should I try to stop it? Jake thought for a moment. No, let it happen. But watch for any signs of danger. The download continued for several minutes. Then the chamber filled with a soft blue light, and a voice spoke in perfect English. Welcome, humans. We have been waiting for you. Everyone on the bridge turned to look at each other in shock. The voice was calm and friendly, not threatening. Like the hegemony aliens. Who are you? Jake asked, speaking to the chamber. We are the architects. We built this place long ago, before your species existed. We have been watching you since you entered our domain. Dr. Phillips stepped forward. How do you know our language? We learned it from your ship's computers during the scan. We learn quickly. It is one of our abilities. Jake felt amazed. These architects were far more advanced than the hegemony. Where are you? Why can't we see you? We are not here in the way you understand. We exist in a different state now. But we left our technology behind for those who prove themselves worthy. Worthy of what? Jake asked. Worthy to be our successors. We have watched many species over the centuries. Most are content to follow the rules set by others. But you humans are different. You question authority. You explore where others fear to go. You fight when others surrender. The chamber walls began to show images of human history. Jake saw ancient explorers crossing oceans, astronauts landing on the moon, and the first human ships reaching the stars. We see your potential, the architect voice continued. You have the qualities we value most. Innovation, courage, and the refusal to accept limitations. Amy Carter was studying her readings carefully. Captain, these energy levels are incredible. This technology is far beyond anything the hegemony has. The hegemony, the architect voice said, and Jake could hear anger in the tone. They were once our servants. When we evolved beyond physical existence, they seized control of our territory. They have spent thousands of years trying to unlock our secrets, but they lack the qualities necessary to succeed. What qualities? Jake asked. They are stagnant. They fear change. They maintain power through force rather than innovation. Our technology responds only to species that demonstrate growth and adaptability. The chamber began to change around them. New passages opened in the walls, leading to other areas of the massive structure. Lights came on, showing corridors filled with strange machines and devices. We offer you a choice, humans. You can take our knowledge and technology, but you must prove that you will use it wisely. The hegemony will not allow you to leave with our secrets. They will send their greatest fleets to destroy you. Jake understood the implications. Accepting the architect technology would mean war with the most powerful empire in the galaxy. But it would also give humanity the tools to fight back. Captain, Carl Davis, the xenarchaeologist, spoke up. These archives could contain scientific knowledge that would advance our civilization by thousands of years. What do you want from us in return? Jake asked the architects. Use our technology to free the galaxy from the hegemony's tyranny. Restore the progress and exploration that they have suppressed. help other species grow, and advance instead of keeping them as slaves. Jake looked around at his crew. They were all listening carefully, understanding that this decision would affect not just them, but all of humanity. "Show us what you offer." Jake said. The chamber walls became transparent, revealing the true size of the architect complex. Jake saw automated factories building ships and weapons. He saw laboratories full of advanced technology. He saw databases containing the knowledge of a civilization that had mastered the secrets of the universe. "These facilities will respond to your direction," the architect voice explained. "They will build what you need to defend yourselves and to help others. But remember, with great power comes great responsibility." Roy Baker was studying the engineering displays. "Captain, these manufacturing systems could build a fleet of ships in months instead of years, and the designs are incredible." "The weapons?" Greg Stone asked. "Defensive and offensive systems beyond your current understanding," the architect replied, "but designed to protect, not to conquer. We built them to defend against those who would abuse power." Jake made his decision. "We accept your offer. Humanity will not waste this opportunity." The chamber filled with light, and the ship's computers began receiving massive amounts of information. Technical manuals, star charts, historical records, and scientific data flowed into the Rangers' memory banks. "The knowledge is yours," the architect voice said, "but be warned. High Admiral Veltar is already on his way here with the largest hegemony fleet ever assembled. He knows something has changed, and he will not allow you to escape with our secrets." "How long do we have?" Jake asked. "Perhaps a month. Use the time wisely. The automated systems will begin construction immediately. Choose your crew carefully, for you will need the best humanity has to offer." The chamber began to change again, with new areas opening to reveal construction bays and research facilities. Jake realized that they were no longer just explorers. They had become humanity's defenders in a war that would determine the fate of the galaxy. "Captain," Amy Carter said, studying the new data, "these facilities can build ships that make the hegemony vessels look like toys. But it will take time to learn how to use everything." Jake nodded. "Then we better get started. Ben, send a message to Earth. Tell them what we found and what is coming. They need to know that humanity is about to change forever." As the crew began exploring the architect facilities, Jake stood on the bridge and looked out at the massive construction areas. Humanity had been told to stay out of this region, but they had found something worth fighting for. The architects had given them the tools to defend themselves, but the real test was still coming. High Admiral Veltar and the hegemony fleet were on their way, and when they arrived, humanity would either prove itself worthy of the architect legacy or be destroyed trying. Jake Morrison had made his choice, and there was no going back now. 6 months had passed since humanity discovered the architect facilities. The automated factories had been working day and night, building new ships that combined human ideas with ancient technology. Captain Jake Morrison, now promoted to Admiral, stood on the bridge of the UEFS Defiance, watching his fleet prepare for the largest battle in human history. The Defiance was unlike any ship humans had ever built. It was 3 times larger than the original Ranger and covered in armor that could repair itself. The weapons were so advanced that Jake's crew was still learning how to use them all. But the most amazing thing was how the ship seemed to think alongside its human crew, making their decisions faster and more accurate. "Admiral, we are receiving reports from all fleet commanders," Alice Morgan said from her communication station. Alice had been promoted to captain after proving herself in several raids against hegemony supply ships. Her ship, the Swift Strike, was one of 30 vessels in Jake's battle group. "What is our status?" Jake asked. "All ships report ready for combat, sir. The new crews have trained hard with the architect technology." Commander Rick Taylor's stealth ships are in position around the Nexus Gate. Jake nodded. The Nexus Gate was an ancient architect structure that allowed ships to travel quickly between star systems. Whoever controlled it would control access to dozens of worlds and all the resources they contained. The hegemony had been using it for thousands of years to maintain their empire. Dr. Kate Phillips, now the fleet's chief intelligence officer, looked up from her station. Admiral, we are detecting the hegemony Grand Armada on long-range sensors. High Executor Malthane has brought over 800 ships. Jake felt his stomach tighten. 800 ships against 30. The odds were terrible, but the human fleet had advantages that the hegemony did not understand. How long until they arrive? Jake asked. Approximately 6 hours, sir, Kate replied. Jake activated the fleet communication system. All ships, this is Admiral Morrison. Today we face the largest fleet the hegemony has ever assembled. They outnumber us 25 to 1, but we have something they do not. We have technology that grows stronger during battle, and we have the courage to use it. Paul Anderson, now chief engineer of the Defiance, spoke from his station. Admiral, all architect systems are online and ready. The ship's AI is fully integrated with our tactical computers. The architect technology was amazing. Unlike regular computers, the architect systems could learn and adapt during combat. They would analyze enemy tactics and automatically improve the ship's responses. It was like having the ancient architects fighting alongside them. Terry Lopez, captain of the Lightning Bolt, contacted Jake from her ship. Admiral, my squadron is ready to execute the phase strike maneuver. We have been practicing for weeks. The phase strike was a new tactic that used architect technology to move through solid matter. Human ships could now attack from impossible angles, appearing inside enemy formations and disappearing before the aliens could respond. Excellent, Terry. Remember, we are not trying to destroy every enemy ship. We need to break their formation and make them retreat. Beth Turner, commanding the Thunderchild, added her report. Sir, my strike group has the dimensional weapons ready. If we can get close enough to their command ships, we can disable their entire fleet. Jake was proud of his commanders. They had all learned to use the new technology quickly, combining it with human tactical thinking in ways that even the architects had not imagined. Admiral, Kate Phillips called out, we are receiving a transmission from High Executor Malthane himself. Put him on screen. The main display showed an alien, unlike any they had seen before. Malthane was tall and thin, with purple skin and 4 arms. His eyes glowed with golden light, and when he spoke, his voice echoed strangely. I am High Executor Malthane, Supreme Commander of the Galactic Hegemony. You humans have stolen sacred architect technology and used it to attack our rightful territories. Surrender now, and we will make your deaths quick. Jake stepped forward so the alien could see him clearly. I am Admiral Jake Morrison of the United Earth Fleet. We have not stolen anything. The architects chose to share their technology with us because we proved ourselves worthy, something the hegemony never could do. Malthane's golden eyes flared with anger. Impossible. The hegemony has served the architects faithfully for millennia. We are their chosen inheritors. You were their servants, Jake replied calmly. And when they evolved beyond physical existence, you seized power that was never yours. The architects told us the truth about your history. Lies, Malthane screamed. The architect technology belongs to us by right of conquest. We have maintained order in this galaxy for 10,000 years. We will not allow a primitive species to threaten our authority. Jake could see that reasoning with this alien was impossible. Malthane truly believed that might made right, and he could not accept that anyone might challenge the hegemony's power. Then you will have to stop us, Jake said. But I warn you, we are not the same humans you fought before. We have learned much in the past 6 months. Malthane cut the communication, and immediately the hegemony fleet began moving into attack. Formation. Jake had studied their tactics during the months of preparation. The aliens always used the same strategy. Overwhelm the enemy with superior numbers and firepower. All ships implement Battle Plan Omega, Jake ordered. The human fleet. Scattered in all directions, confusing the hegemony commanders who expected them to group together for defense. Instead, the human ships used their speed and maneuverability to avoid direct confrontation. Phase strike teams, begin your attack runs. Jake commanded. Captain Lopez's squadron disappeared from normal space and reappeared inside the hegemony formation. Their weapons fired from point-blank range, tearing through alien shields that were designed to stop attacks from a distance. The hegemony ships tried to respond, but they could not target enemies that could vanish and reappear at will. Their own weapons began hitting each other as they fired wildly at the phasing human ships. Dimensional strike teams target the command vessels. Jake ordered. Beth Turner's ships fired weapons that ignored normal space entirely. The dimensional torpedoes passed through the hulls of enemy ships and exploded inside their command centers. 3 hegemony battleships lost all power and began drifting helplessly. High Executor Malthane was screaming orders at his fleet, but his commanders were too confused to respond effectively. They had never faced an enemy that could attack from multiple dimensions at once. Admiral, the Architect systems are learning from the battle, Paul Anderson reported excitedly. They are automatically improving our weapons and defenses based on enemy responses. Jake watched his tactical display as the human ships adapted to every hegemony countermeasure. When the aliens changed their shield frequency, the human weapons adjusted automatically. When they tried to jam human communications, the Architect systems found new frequencies. "This is incredible," Amy Carter said from her science station. "The technology is evolving faster than the enemy can adapt." Commander Rick Taylor's voice came over the communication system. "Admiral, my stealth ships have identified Malthane's flagship. It is the massive vessel in the center of their formation." Jake studied the enemy flagship on his screen. It was enormous, probably carrying thousands of crew members. If they could disable it, the entire hegemony fleet might surrender. "Rick, can you get close enough for a dimensional strike?" "Already on my way, sir. Give me 5 minutes." The battle continued to rage around the Nexus Gate. Human ships appeared and disappeared like ghosts, striking where the enemy least expected, and vanishing before retaliation could arrive. The hegemony fleet, despite its massive size, was being torn apart by tactics they could not understand or counter. "Admiral," Kate Phillips reported, "we are intercepting hegemony communications. Their fleet commanders are requesting permission to retreat. Some ships are already pulling back." Jake felt hope growing in his chest. They might actually win this impossible battle. "Dimensional strike successful," Rick Taylor announced. "Malthane S. Flagship is dead in space. All command systems are offline." Without their supreme commander, the hegemony fleet began to break apart. Ships fled in all directions, no longer coordinated in their attacks. The few vessels that continued fighting were quickly overwhelmed by human forces that seemed to be everywhere at once. "Admiral, we are receiving a surrender signal from the hegemony fleet," Alice Morgan recorded. "The remaining commanders want to negotiate." Jake looked around his bridge at the crew that had just won the most important battle in human history. They had faced impossible odds and emerged victorious through courage, innovation, and technology that responded to their unique human qualities. "Open a channel to all hegemony vessels," Jake ordered. "Channel open, sir. This is Admiral Morrison. The battle is over. Your fleet is defeated, but we do not seek to destroy you. Return to your territories and tell your leaders that the age of hegemony tyranny is ending. The galaxy is free to choose its own path now." As the surviving alien ships retreated, Jake stood on the bridge of the Defiance and watched the Nexus Gate come under human control. The gateway to dozens of star systems now belonged to a species that had been told to stay out of this region just months before. 1 year had passed since the great battle at the Nexus Gate. Admiral Jake Morrison stood in the newly built Nexus Station, looking out at ships from dozens of different species working together in space. The station had been constructed using both human engineering and architect technology, creating something that was both functional and beautiful. The galaxy had changed dramatically since humanity's victory over the Hegemony Grand Armada. Word of the battle had spread to every corner of known space, inspiring species that had been under hegemony control for centuries to rebel against their oppressors. Admiral, the Council representatives are ready for the opening ceremony, Captain, Alice Morgan said as she approached. Alice now served as Jake's chief of staff, helping to coordinate the new galactic government they were building. Jake nodded and walked toward the great assembly hall. Today marked the founding of the Interstellar Congress, the first truly democratic government the galaxy had ever known. Instead of being ruled by the strongest species, all races would have a voice in deciding their collective future. The assembly hall was enormous, with seating for representatives from over 200 different species. Jake could see aliens of every shape and size talking together, sharing ideas and forming alliances. Many of these species had never been allowed to speak freely under hegemony rule. Dr. Kate Phillips, now serving as the chief translator for the Congress, was working with teams of linguists to ensure that every species could communicate effectively. The architect technology had helped create universal translation devices, making it possible for anyone to understand anyone else. Ladies, gentlemen, and honored beings, Jake began his speech as the assembly fell quiet. 1 year ago, humanity was told to stay out of the forbidden sector. We were warned that terrible consequences would follow if we disobeyed. Today, we gather in that same sector to celebrate the birth of a new age of freedom and cooperation. The crowd erupted in cheers and various alien expressions of approval. Jake could see species that had been enemies for centuries now sitting side by side, united in their desire for peace and progress. The hegemony ruled through fear and suppression, Jake continued. They kept advanced technology locked away, prevented scientific advancement, and told entire species that they were not worthy of self-determination. Today, we reject those lies forever. In the months following the battle, many hegemony worlds had declared independence. Some alien species, like the Thraxians and Valkyrie, had split into factions. Some groups wanted to continue the old ways, while others embraced the new democratic ideals that humanity had introduced. Commander Zeke Tar, the Thraxian officer who had first confronted the UES Ranger, now sat in the assembly as a representative of the Free Thraxian Republic. He had become one of humanity's strongest allies after learning the truth about architect history and hegemony deception. We have learned that true strength comes not from dominating others, but from working together, Jake said, looking directly at Zektar and other former hegemony officers. The architects understood this. They left their technology not for conquerors, but for those who would use it to help others grow and prosper. Roy Baker, now the chief engineer for the entire Nexus Station, had been working with alien scientists to share architect technology freely. Unlike the hegemony, which had hoarded advanced knowledge, humanity believed that progress came through cooperation and open exchange of ideas. The architect facilities had been expanded under human direction, creating research centers where species from across the galaxy could work together on scientific projects. New medicines, better transportation, and improved communication systems were being developed at an incredible pace. But our work is not finished, Jake continued his speech. There are still those who cling to the old ways of thinking. High Executor Malthane has gathered the remaining hegemony loyalists in the Outer Rim territories. They refuse to accept that their time of absolute power has ended. This was true. While many hegemony worlds had joined the new Congress, a significant portion remained under Malthane's control. The former Supreme Commander had escaped from his disabled flagship and now led a smaller, but still dangerous force of ships and loyal species. Intelligence reports indicated that Malthane was planning one final assault to reclaim what he saw as his rightful empire. He had allied himself with several aggressive species that preferred the old system where might determined right. "We must remain vigilant," Jake said. "Freedom requires constant protection. But we will not become the oppressors we fought against. We will defend ourselves and help others, but we will never force our beliefs on those who choose differently." This principle had been tested several times over the past year. When the aggressive Tornak Empire had attacked peaceful colonies, human fleets had intervened to protect the innocent. But when the Tornak leaders agreed to negotiations, humanity had offered them membership in the Congress rather than demanding their surrender. "Today, I am proud to announce the creation of the Defense Alliance," Jake continued. "Any species that commits to peaceful cooperation will receive protection from those who would harm them. And any species that chooses aggression will face the combined strength of all free peoples." The crowd cheered again as representatives from nearly 50 species signed the Defense Alliance Charter. The document committed them to mutual protection and peaceful resolution of conflicts. Captain Nick Collins, now commanding the exploration vessel New Horizons, had been leading missions to contact isolated species throughout the galaxy. Many civilizations had been cut off from galactic society by hegemony restrictions, and humanity was working to reconnect them with the wider universe. Commander Sandra Wright led the diplomatic corps, negotiating with former hegemony client states to join the new Congress. Her work had been crucial in preventing civil wars and helping species transition from authoritarian rule to self-governance. "The architects left us more than just technology," Jake said as his speech neared its end. "They left us an example of what civilization can become when it focuses on growth instead of control, on cooperation instead of domination." The architect. Systems continued to evolve under human guidance, developing new capabilities that even their creators might not have imagined. The technology seemed to respond to humanity's optimistic vision of the future, creating tools for exploration, healing, and discovery rather than just warfare. "We have proven that even the mightiest empire can fall when faced with the determination to be free," Jake concluded. "But more importantly, we have shown that former enemies can become friends, that different species can work together, and that the galaxy is big enough for everyone to prosper." As the assembly erupted in celebration, Jake thought about how far humanity had come. From a single exploration ship told to stay out of forbidden space, they had become the leaders of a galactic revolution that was still spreading to new worlds every day. Chief Engineer Sam Brooks contacted Jake from Earth with regular reports about new human ships being built with architect technology. These vessels were not warships, but exploration and research vessels, designed to push the boundaries of known space and make contact with civilizations that had never been part of galactic society. Later that evening, Jake stood on the observation deck of Nexus Station, watching the traffic of ships from hundreds of different worlds. Trade vessels carried goods between species that had never communicated before. Scientific expeditions departed for unknown regions of space. Diplomatic shuttles brought new representatives to join the growing Congress. Pete Young, now commanding the defense forces around Nexus Station, joined Jake at the observation window. "Admiral, we just received word from the Outer Rim. Malthane is massing his remaining forces for what intelligence believes will be his final attack." Jake nodded. He had been expecting this news. Malthane would never accept the new order peacefully. The former High Executor saw the Democratic Congress as a personal insult to everything he believed about natural hierarchy and the right of the strong to rule the weak. "How many ships does he have?" Jake asked. "About 300 vessels, plus." Support from several client species that remained loyal to the old hegemony. "It is still a significant force." Jake smiled, looking out at the dozens of ships from the Defense Alliance patrolling around the station. 300 ships against the combined fleets of 50 free species. I like those odds better than our first battle. The galaxy had indeed changed. Where once the hegemony's word was law, now free peoples worked together to protect each other. Where once advanced technology was hoarded by the powerful, now it was shared to benefit everyone. "Send word to all Alliance members," Jake ordered. "If Malthane wants one final battle, we will give it to him. But this time, he will face not just humanity, but every species that has chosen freedom over tyranny." As Jake prepared for what would likely be the last great battle against the old order, he reflected on the words that had started this entire journey. They had been told to stay out, warned of terrible consequences if they proceeded. Humanity had answered with firepower when necessary, but more importantly, they had answered with hope, cooperation, and the unshakable belief that all species deserved the right to determine their own destiny.